Yeah.
Is there a reason why you call it a Hasidic? Is that a Hasidic?
Chassidus,
Was that at that
it's
way as a dude? He was just either a good guy, a little guy, even his generation. He was the, like,
yeah, I mean it's classic Chassidish thought is to extract these kinds of ideas about interacting with the common man and not being fearful. You know, Hasidus was a movement that started as an opposition, at least in part, against people who were considered themselves to be the elite, and therefore they couldn't have anything to do with the lower class of Jews, you know. So we learned a piece last night about Noach, and the whole way that Noach was depicted was originally he was removed from other people because he was fearful that they would bring him down. And then he developed over the course of time after building this ark to a person who had learned the skill of being very holy, but at the same time being able to interact with his fellow Jew, his fellow human being in his case. So that was clearly a Hasidic text.
who is the Saber or
Ma'or Vashemesh. It's very well known. It's
use it
say
every
very
week?
well known. I don't use it every week, but it's really it's a classic. He was a Talmud of the Reb Elimelech of Lizhensk. Okay, so
Mazel tov. My son had a big boy last night.
Oh,
Mazel
oh,
tov. Which son?
Eighth and Shem.
Oh, they live here. Oh, that's wonderful news. So you have a bris coming up.
Who was your daughter-in-law?
Favorite
we don't like.
and my favorite couldn't.
That's great.
So the son had it. Today they beamed up.
Okay, so is there a Shalom Zacher tonight? No?
Sir.
Shalom Zacher tonight?
I would seem to be, she's still baby small.
Ah,
But, hopefully she'll get up, but yeah.
I had to get up 3
Details
times last
don't know.
night with Trammell.
Probably
What do you call this
similar
part of the leg?
Calf.
That's a calf. I thought the calf was just a calf.
you get cramps in your calf, right?
There it is.
So do I. Okay. All right. So yesterday we learned that the laws of Ona'ah do not apply between a Jew and a non-Jew because the Torah explicitly says, let no man oppress his brother. So brother means your fellow Jew. But then he writes, Uvilvad shelo yihiyeh chilul Hashem, provided that there's no chilul Hashem. So, and the Rambam, he's quoting the Rambam in Hilchos Mechira, where there's based on a Gemara in Bechoros. It says, the Rambam writes explicitly, Hagoy ein lo hanash nemer isha sachiv, but v'goy shahones Yisrael machzir ha'ona b'dinin shalanu lo yihiyeh zeh chamor miYisrael ad kan l'shano. But strangely enough, if a goy rips off a Yisrael, he can be taken to Beis Din, I guess, if you're living in Israel and the goy submits to the rulership of the Batei Din, so then you could sue him for that.
Why would it going to look like it's no?
I mean,
There's no.
well, I'm saying it could be that if in the times of an Israelite kingdom. So he does make this point of Onas Devarim also, that a goy is not included in the Isser of Onas Devarim.
You find that the Rambam always has that attitude in all the halachas. That's why he does.
Yeah.
Is that because we're because of Egypt? Because of
well, I I don't think that you can really say it's because of his own personal bias. I think the only time that we would suggest that there is a strong argument to be made about his views of Christianity. Because he didn't live among Christians, he felt at liberty to say that Christians are idolaters, and therefore you can't do business with them. But people who lived amongst Christians had to come up with a solution about how to survive in Europe. And so the view was that Christians are not idolaters. Anyway,
Is it how we hold that Christianity is not, it's not, the Trinity is not considered idolatry? Is it a Muslim?
it's a machlokas like everything else, but it
So going
depends.
into a mosque versus a church is the same thing.
Well, there's a long-standing minhag not to go into a church. I mean, unless there's an absolute need for it.
Church with idols.
It's only couple, right?
Yeah,
As
like,
Opposed to cause.
yeah. I think it's an easier argument to make to walk into a Protestant church, which doesn't have all the iconography and the idolatry, than going into a Catholic church, which is, I think, a little.
How about the Seventh-day Adventists? They hold Shabbos.
Or a Unitarian church. Those are easier to justify going into because they may not even believe in a Trinity. Anyway, all right. She'ela. Goy shekana schara miyehudi v'shilei mavur haschara yoter mimasha sukam beinehem l'shalei mavur haschara. Now, what if a non-Jew overpays? In other words, this is not ona'ah. This is where they had arrived at a price. And for whatever reason, the non-Jew paid more than he was supposed to. He was supposed to pay 100. That was the price that was set. And instead, he accidentally sent 150. Ha'im hamocher tzarech lahachzir l'goy et tosefet hatashlum does the Jew have to return the difference out of a concern that the Gentile will discover the error and it'll make a chilul Hashem, that the Jew knowingly accepted the overpay and didn't try to make things right? So the answer is, of course, goy sheshile me'atzmo avur aschar yoter mimasha yitzarach liten kefi shesikeim im hamocher kol sheta hagoy me'atzmo ein tzarach lahachzir et hatosefet shenatan avur hakniya. He says you're not obligated to return it, but I don't understand how he can say that. There clearly is going to be. Yes, we know that there's a din of ta'us akum, that if a goy makes a mistake on his own, not that I deceived him, but that he made his own mistake, is permissible. I'm not allowed to deceive him in any way. But if he makes the mistake on his own, I'm not obligated to correct him. But he just got through by saying that you can't make a chilul Hashem. So I don't understand why he says you should be concerned about a chilul Hashem.
It's going to cause a chilul
Yeah.
Hashem. How are you going to know if it's going to cause it? Perhaps the guy finds out a week later that his numbers don't jive on his deposit.
Exactly.
What he sold, then he goes back and starts looking. So like it's just the wrong premise.
Yeah, and also we saw the Be'er Hagola many times, who had said it very explicitly that one should not rely on this halacha. And so this is just one more reason why, once we finish the sefer, I'm going to be relieved to find another sefer that has a much more clear-cut attitude towards these halachas than this particular author. I think this particular author has certain deficiencies in his knowledge base based on comparing him to other poskim. Next, she'ela schorashen mikeret al yedei rov hamochrim b'sikum misuyam. That if a merchandise that is sold with a fixed price by most sellers, or let's say there's a certain kind of merchandise whose price is set by the government, let's say gasoline in Canada. It was so strange when we first moved here. Everyone's price was the same on gas. So how do you compete? How does a gas station compete? So I,
Location,
They wash your windows for you. Get an extra.
yeah, I guess, but in the States, every gas station has a right to charge whatever it wants to charge I think within certain.
They can charge what they want here. It's what they're all paying. Yeah, I don't know. If that's
No,
true.
I don't think.
I think it's regulated here.
Well, why do you have?
But I see different prices all the time.
Yeah, there's different prices with different stations.
Where does that happen?
They had Pathers to the
Yeah,
Sun was
Pathers-
$1.09 the other day, and the other the Esso was $1.15, and I think it's all over catchy.
Okay, you let us know about gasoline in Ontario. Okay, but in any event, let's say the prices, let's say on milk and eggs are regulated by the government. I know that's certainly the case in Israel. The seller now is notified. He becomes aware that these commodities may actually go up in price. What does it say?
Yes, but it's all over.
No, gasoline prices are not regulated in Canada.
No.
You want to be competitive, you want to be.
Oh, the provinces having authority to implement price controls. But the federal government does not.
Okay, well, look up Ontario now.
Oh, no, North Bay for sure is higher in Swiss for sure.
No. I think it's but I think it's by region. In other words, if you're in Vaughan, I think you have to.
No, they're not regulated in Ontario.
I usually think.
The price is determined by market forces like supply and demand, wholesale costs.
Really? Okay.
But in Ontario, it has legislation that requires retailers to provide 72 hours notice before a price charge and prohibits collusion.
Price fixity.
Yeah, collusion would mean when a bunch of stations get together. Okay.
Do it all the time.
Let's say the seller gets information about futures. In other words, he's told that the price on this commodity is about to go up. Whether it's food, other commodities, fixtures, electricity. Would it be permissible for him to sell it for the higher price now, based on what he anticipates the price to go up? Since these things are about to go up in price. Oh, Yeshalav Isser Imosakain, or is he committing an Isser of Ona'ah by doing that? And his answer is, Kol hadvarim hanimkarim b'shuko b'chanuyot v'shar hashibuk shalehem kach v'kach. He says, no, he says, if the price is fixed in the marketplace, av shechoshe shehim omdim lihityaker, even if you're concerned that the prices are going to go up, asr lo limkar yoter mima shehim shavim achshav. You're not allowed to sell them for more than they're worth right now. Oh, lahozil et aschora shahamechirim shala omdim lihimacher zol yoter. You do have, however, the option to lower the price for something that's about to go down in value. The yeshkan is Sir Hona'ah.
Are you allowed to wait another day because you know the pricing is for the guy you're going to have the goods, not to sell it to them? Because you know the pricing, it's sort of like insider trading, so you know the price is going up and no one else knows.
Well, let's say everybody knows.
Okay, so then can you hold on and say, tell a guy, I know I have stock?
Yeah, you
I'm
can.
gonna sell to you.
It's every seller's prerogative not to sell. He can say, I'm not selling until the price goes up. I'm sure there are cases like that where people hoard certain commodities with the anticipation that the price is going to go up, right? Is there such a thing? I'm sure there's such a thing in your industry also much. Let's say, what happened, during COVID, what was it that there was masks, or there were certain precious metals that prevented people from buying new computers. And so you could hold on to your PC and say, I'm not selling.
In Ontario, Natural gas and electricity prices are regulated.
They are regulated.
Yeah,
Okay, but not gasoline.
natural gas.
You're doing that with toilet paper.
Toilet paper, there you go. Okay. So he says, and therefore a buyer also may not pay less or demand to pay less based on the future price. So, shelotu tshuvot v'chikrei dinim, but for dine hona. So therefore, some more shilas and shuvas. So the shaila is Nemar b'Torah. The title of this Ona'ah b'chlal gezel. That Ona'ah really is under the rubric of stealing. Nemar b'Torah v'chi timkaru mimkar la'amitecha o kano miyad amitecha al tanu ishet achiv. So that's the source for the prohibition of Ona'ah. V'lichora hadover tzarech bir. He says, this really requires clarification. Shaharei haTorah hizhir al iser gezel v'harei Ona'ahu b'chlal gezel. He says the Torah also tells us you're not allowed to steal. And Ona'ah seems to be under the rubric of stealing. V'imkein madua hosifa v'hizira haTorah b'iser Ona'ah alo sagi be'asaras haTorah lo tigzol. Why then did the Torah have to specify an additional prohibition of Ona'ah if ripping someone off is included under the laws of you shall not steal? So the answer is Afal pi shekvar hizira Torah l'isur gezel v'yakasav lo tigzol hosifa v'hizira Torah isur Ona'ah shelo nemar keven she'im hona es chaver harei lo lokach bal korcho shel hanose. He says the reason is because stealing, one might think, is limited to forcibly taking something from someone that doesn't want it to be taken. Okay, so v'gamhu derech mekachu memkar, and furthermore, ona'ah is done in a mercantile fashion. In other words, you're engaged in a transaction. V'hava amina demutula adam lahonas es chavero b'maso mata. And I might have thought that as long as you're in the course of regular transactional activity, then there's nothing wrong. It's not stealing because you're willingly giving me the merchandise and I'm just underpaying you for it. And that's why you need the Torah to specify it, because if the Torah had only said don't steal, I would have thought that that
It's not stealing.
that onah is not stealing. So, of course, then you could ask the opposite
You
question.
hear that?
Yeah, I might have thought if the Torah just said don't steal, well, the
You
stealing
would think
doesn't.
Ona'ah is okay.
I would have thought onah is okay, sure, because onah is look, like I offered the guy this price, he accepted the price, and now he wants to come back and say that I'm stealing from him. You stole me blind. I didn't steal from you. I didn't. Stealing is when I take something from you without your consent.
So if something sells for $10 and you sell him for $12, everyone else paid $10, that's, you're not gonna think that it's not being regulated. That's not gonna think you got ripped off.
Yeah, I got ripped off, but it's
Just
not.
because it wasn't openly stealing and he was,
Yeah.
he was sleeping.
Mass business. It's mass business.
Under
Stealing is
rubric
very
of under business.
If you think stealing, what do you think? You know, you're a businessman, so you think maybe that could be on, but most people stealing. You know, going to someone's yard and you take what's not yours. So when it's mass in business, and it's a nice interaction. I think the Torah is just refining it more and more.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just the conceptual thing. Why did the Torah have to write the Isser of Onah? Now you could ask the opposite question. Now that the Torah writes the Isser of Onah, why does the Torah have to write explicitly, you shall not steal? Isn't that like a kal v'chomer, right? So a lot of times you'll find the Gemara asking questions like that, and it'll say lavor alav b'shnei lavin, that sometimes the Torah wants to amplify how many prohibitions you're over. So there are always a number of answers to that question. Now, next, Isser Onah Nikva al pi makom hamecher v'shaito, that the prohibition of Onah is time and place dependent. And we all know that, like, when my wife and I went to Hawaii, and we wanted to buy milk, it was more expensive. I don't know if milk would be was true. But certain commodities were much more expensive in Hawaii. Macadamia nuts were cheaper.
Mm.
But yeah, but other commodities that they got from the mainland were more expensive. So you can't claim Ona'a just because when you're in California, it costs, tomatoes cost one thing, but in Honolulu, tomatoes are double the price because it all depends on the time and place. So she'ela iser Ona'a, she's here at Torah b'masim umatan, beinim zeh mitzad hamoicher shemocher beyoser, mishavio shel hachefetz ubein mitzad halokeh shelokach pachos mishavio. He says this prohibition, whether from the seller's side or the buyer's side, tzarich iyun kishaoto hachefetz shava b'makom acher ka'oto shemocher hamocher beyoter mishavio. What if the seller can say, yes, it's true, in our local community, this commodity is usually sold for less, and I charged you more, but if you go to Honolulu, you're going to pay much more for it. Oh, pachal mishavish shaloka halakeach, or vice versa when it comes to the buyer. Haim gamba ofen ze yesh iser shalona. Okevin sheshava b'makom acher oto mechir shemachar okana ein kan iser ona. Is there still ona in that case based upon the local price? So the answer, of course, is bein shene'ene halokech ubein shenis'ane hamoicher av sheshava kimechir hazeh b'makom ploni b'zman ploni yeshava kein. And of course, the answer is quite obvious that the Isser of Onah is time and place dependent. If at the place where you're selling it, you're ripping the guy off, so that's Onah. You can't claim, well, if you just drive 10 miles out of town, it's going to be much more expensive, and that's why I was charging you the price in Stouffville, not the price in Vaughan.
The difference between supermarket and corner store.
So there, the convenience store is allowed to charge more based upon different overhead and they're all not buying in the same volumes, right? Yeah. Okay.
Comes back to what you said, to buy something for $1, sell it for 10, because that's the market price. Doesn't apply.
The Torah never addresses how much profit you're allowed to make. You can make as much profit as you want as long as it's fair market value. So a person may sometimes find a huge mitzvah, right? And he can sell it now for fair market value. That's what all of these shows are about, these antique shows and pawn shop shows.
Close-up shows, there's tons of them.
Yeah.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
we have a situation where I sell to, say, stores, and we started selling now online. Why anybody wants to buy an expensive dress online and then return is another story, but anyway, we're doing it for people wherever there's no stores around.
A
So
person can't return?
everything we make is by order, by custom. We don't like just.
I see. I
So-
see.
So if we're gonna make this dress in a weird color or size, whatever, when a woman wants to order, I don't want to.
Or a guy.
Because I can sell it.
So do you have that technology where they can stand in front of the screen and it'll measure their body?
We're looking at it right now. It's there, it's out there. We're doing it.
What happens if you ship something and it doesn't fit properly? Because they put on weight from the
Yeah,
top.
well, that's their issue. This
gotta go
is
get
just a side thing for us. It's not what we rely on our business. We're doing it because we're moving along with the world. But the issue is that now we're getting pushback from our stores. They're upset that we're selling online because we're in luxury, we're in high end. They don't want to see that happen. They feel like we're competing against them with that. So what we did is we raised our prices online more, so that's more than going into the store.
Which is unusual because there's no overhead.
Right,
with the
right.
online.
But I'm doing this to please them,
Yeah.
to please them. And because some of them actually are selling it higher than our suggested retail price. I guess there's no competition.
Why can't you sell it under another website under a different name so your stores have no idea it's you?
That won't, yeah,
That's what I
there's
do.
other issues with that. So I'm questioning, so I gotta be careful about that 1/6 then, right? because not to rip off the public that way, even, because I'm getting pushed, it's not that I want to do this, I'm doing this to please my store.
So go, it's a fee of.
First of all, Moish is right, it's a non-Jewish market, so you can really,
It's a fee.
you can charge, not a fee, but you can charge whatever you like. It's not subject to the laws of Ona'ah when you're selling to a predominantly non-Jewish market. But I think there's another argument to be made in your case, and that is that because you're selling specialty items that are made to order, you have a right to charge whatever you want. There is no fixed market price, market value on those kinds of
Well, it's the
clothing.
same style that the stores are buying, right? The store, we make a collection every season, the stores buy that collection, and they're buying, online, we're putting the photos of that collection that the stores are buying too.
Yeah.
So it's the same merchandise.
Well, you also may want to, I mean, I don't know if you'd be halachically required to do this, but do the people who go online recognize that they can get it for less money at the stores?
We're not gonna advertise in the stores, you get them for less money, it can't, I can't, but claim them.
It would have been stores, just that some stores are charging even more than.
Yeah, so some, that's why they got some of them got upset too, not just that we're selling online, but they were charging more than the suggested retail price, and so now I've had to push the price up that much more online, which is probably hurting us a little bit. in sales.
But I don't think you're subject to the laws of
No,
Ona'ah.
no.
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 Okay, what if the next shaila is, what if a person unintentionally commits ona'ah? Has he violated the Torah? Ha'im bedin ona'ah over ha'ma'ana b'lav dafka b'mezid o af b'shogeg over halalav? Do you violate the mitzvah if you did it unintentionally? And he says, b'davar zeh nechlaku harishonim. Yesh omrim da'af b'shogeg over ha'ma'ana b'lav shel al tonu. V'yesh omrim sharak b'mezid b'ma'ana ladas over alav al tonu. He says that here there's a bit of a machlokes. Some poskim say that that you're only over on ona'ah when you do it intentionally. But if you do it unintentionally, you're not over on ona'ah. Now, this is not true when it comes to stealing.
Because how can you steal unintentionally?
Because well, you could steal unintentionally. What if
I walked into someone's backyard in the middle of the night and I stole something unintentionally?
No.
Used
I
it,
thought
put it back.
or let's say I thought it was mine and I took it. I didn't realize it wasn't mine. And so I took it. Or I borrowed it and I forgot about it. So
So you're still over something, but you have to take care of it to fix it.
so he's not, again, there's a certain imprecision here. The question is not whether you have to return it. Let's say I overcharge less than a sixth of the fair market price, in which case there's no action to be taken, but the question is, have I violated the Isser? Like, do I have to do tshuva for this? Is this something that I have to do tshuva for? So he quotes the Rambam, and he says and the Torah says it as well. Bein imhona b'mezid ubein kishona b'shogeg harehu be'isser lav yu'uyin sham. So the Rambam is quite clear. The isser of ona'ah can be violated whether it's done intentionally or unintentionally. I suppose you'd have to ask mechila from the person you sold to, if that's the only ramification. Ulam haramban beperush al haTorah kasav bani choshev od svara shavadei haman es chaver ladas over belav ayin sham. The Ramban in his commentary says, in my opinion, you're only in violation of ona'ah if you do it intentionally. Mashma midvar v'dafka ladasu da over hama'ana yuin sham v'chein kasav hachinuch b'sof derarav sharak shahon es chaver ladas over alav zeh yu'uyin sham. And so that seems to be the opinion of the Sefer HaChinuch as well.
So if you do, I'm not clear, if you do the show gang, then what do you do?
So the question is, what do I do? So if I am in violation of ona'ah and I've charged more than a sixth, I have to immediately notify the customer, hey, I've ripped you off.
And return the difference.
And either return the difference or cancel the sale. Leave it up to the buyer to make that decision. So the Shulchan Aruch in his language says, Asur lahonos es chavero ben b'mekcho ben b'memkaro, ve'eze mehem shahona ben lokecho ben mocher over belav. The Shulchan Aruch makes no distinction whether it's intentional or unintentional. And so he says it's a little bit ambiguous from the language of the Shulchan Aruch. He says, "V'lichora nira shemelokech lo yada shahamocher ta'a b'mechir v'hamocher bikesh sikum namoch mishavi b'shuk v'alokech shlim al piv shel mocher ein kan dino na'a v'afilu yoter mishtos hamekach kain." It would seem, he says, what if the seller is unaware of the real value of what he's selling? And he offers me this item for much less than it's actually worth, which could happen, let's say, at a garage sale or something like that. The guy doesn't realize that he's got a very valuable commodity, but he names the price. So it would seem,
Does it work both ways?
it would seem that if neither the buyer or the seller is aware of the true value, the sale is binding. Ela im kein meida yada halokech v'shosek azai havidino na uviyosem mishtos batel hamekach kenal. Unless the buyer knows the true value and he doesn't notify the seller, hey, this is worth a lot more.
Like with the garage sale, where you get the people who know are coming in for, they look for the value furniture, same things, stuff. First thing, those people come first. And then the other.
Right. So really what's really important to know is that when you're hunting for deals, if you know that the seller is unaware of the true value and you know that it's worth more, halachically, if it's another Jew, you're obligated to let him know, this is worth more than what you're asking for it.
Never gonna happen.
What do you mean it's never gonna
I'm
happen?
gonna tell you, if I'm buying something from somebody, and he offers me a price, I'm gonna say, I'll give you $10 more per piece because it's worth more. How's that gonna work?
No. What you can tell him is, are you aware that this is worth more than what you're
Do
asking?
you need to disclose the price?
You don't need to tell him how much more. You just tell him, listen, are you sure you want to sell it for that price? I think it's worth more than what you're asking. I think it's worth more. And you don't have to tell him exactly how much it's worth, but you definitely have to tell him that this is worth more than what you're asking. And if he says, go ahead and buy it, I don't,
Look, if you go into a value village and you see a paint because they buy, people take some estate stuff. And my sister's got some beautiful paints that, Jewish motif. And they bought a value village for $5. Beautiful stuff, some of it's real stuff.
well, in a place like that, you don't have to notify them. First of all, it's a non-Jewish store, but that doesn't matter. The laws of Ona don't apply to between a Jew and a non-Jew. But also, a store like that is supposed to know what they have. Okay, we'll have to hold it here. We're off for all of next week. I get back from Poland a week from Sunday night. Probably won't get back home until after 10 p.m. So I'll see what my matzav is, and I'll let you know whether we're on a week from
Well,
Monday.
you'll be jet lagged the other way, you'll be up early.
Could be. I'll be up early. Okay. Shabbat shalom, everyone.